The massive alien ship floated silently beside Earth's orbital station. Its hull gleamed like crystal in the sunlight, beautiful but clearly not built for war. Inside the diplomatic meeting room, tension filled the air as thick as smoke. Captain Jake Morrison sat at the metal table, his weathered hands folded in front of him. Across from him stood something that looked like a walking diamond. The alien was tall, maybe 8 feet, with skin that sparkled and shifted colors when it moved. Its voice sounded like wind chimes when it spoke. "My name is Kethver," the alien said. "I speak for the Zephyrian Alliance. We come to you in our darkest hour." Admiral Lisa Harper leaned forward in her chair. She had fought in more battles than she could count, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. First contact with aliens, and they needed help. "Tell us what's happening," she said. Kethver's crystal skin dimmed to a darker blue. "The Devourer swarm has awakened. They are machines, ancient beyond our understanding. They consume everything in their path: planets, ships, entire star systems." Captain Morrison raised an eyebrow. "How ancient are we talking?" "Our records speak of them from 1,000 years ago. They appeared suddenly, destroyed dozens of civilizations, then vanished. We thought they were gone forever." Kethver's voice cracked like breaking glass. "We were wrong." The alien moved to the wall screen and touched it with one crystalline finger. Images appeared that made the humans gasp. Massive mechanical creatures that looked like metal octopi floated through space. Each one was the size of a city. Their tentacles reached out and wrapped around planets, slowly peeling away the surface like an orange.
Ow.
3 of our colonies are gone, Kethver continued. Millions of our people, dead or worse. The swarm doesn't just kill, it learns. It takes our technology and makes it better. Our weapons bounce off their hulls like raindrops. Colonel Amy Rodriguez studied the images with cold eyes. "What kind of weapons do you use?" "Energy beams, plasma cannons, matter disruptors. The most advanced technology in the galaxy." Kethver's skin flashed red with frustration. "Nothing works. The swarm adapts to everything we throw at them." Admiral Harper exchanged looks with her officers. Dr. Ben Clark, their science advisor, leaned forward, said they adapt to advanced technology. "What about primitive weapons?" "Primitive?" Kethver seemed confused. "Kinetic weapons, bullets, explosives, chemical reactions." Dr. Clark explained. Kethver's color shifted to what might have been embarrassment. "We abandoned such crude methods centuries ago. Yes, perhaps something so simple might work where our advanced weapons fail." Captain Morrison almost smiled. "Almost. So you want our help because we're primitive?" "Not primitive," Kethver said quickly. "Different. Your species thinks in ways we cannot. You fight wars we have forgotten how to fight." The alien moved closer to the table. "I have seen your history files. Your people have waged war for thousands of years. You understand conflict in ways the Alliance has lost. We are explorers, traders, philosophers. We are not warriors. And do you think we are?"
Admiral Harper asked.
"I know you are." Kethver's skin pulsed with desperate hope. "Your species has fought each other across dozens of worlds. You have weapons we cannot imagine and strategies we do not understand. The Devourer swarm expects advanced civilizations with predictable tactics. They do not expect humans." Commander Rick Santos spoke up from the back of the room. "What exactly are you asking for?" "Ships, weapons, soldiers, whatever you can spare." Kethver's voice grew smaller. "We know humanity is young, your fleet small. Even a few vessels with kinetic weapons might make the difference." The humans looked at each other. Captain Morrison stood up slowly. "You want our help against these Devourers?" "Yes, please. Time is running short." They moved toward our core worlds. In 6 months, they will reach Zephyr Prime. 20 billion souls live there. Admiral Harper stood as well. "Give us 24 hours to discuss this, of course. But please, remember that every day we delay, more die." The humans filed out of the room, leaving Kethver alone with his hopes and fears. In the corridor outside, the military officers huddled together. "What do you think?" Admiral Harper asked. Dr. Clark pulled up data on his tablet. "The technology they showed us is real. Those devourer machines are like nothing in our databases. Can we help them? Colonel Rodriguez asked. Captain Morrison grinned. Can we help them? Me. They have no idea what they just asked for. What do you mean? They think we're going to send a few ships with some basic weapons? They see us as a minor species with crude technology? Morrison's grin grew wider. They have no clue what the human military is capable of when we decide to go to war. Admiral Harper nodded slowly. The 50 Colonies campaign? The Mars Rebellion? The Titan conflict? We've been fighting wars across the solar system for decades. Winning them, Commander Santos added. Our ships might not have fancy energy weapons, but they have something better, which is human crews, human tactics, human stubbornness. Santos looked back toward the meeting room. These aliens fight. Clean, honorable wars with predictable strategies. The Devourer swarm has learned to counter that. Dr. Clark looked up from his tablet, but they've never faced human warfare. Exactly. Captain Morrison's expression turned serious. Admiral, if we do this, we don't do it halfway. These Devourers think they're the ultimate predators. Time to show them what a real predator looks like. Admiral Harper was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached for her communicator. Admiral Harper, to Fleet Command. Priority Alpha message to all vessels. Prepare for full military mobilization. Authorization code 7-7-Alpha-9. Double quotes. The response came back immediately. Confirmed. Admiral, all fleet standing by for orders. She looked at her officers. Gentlemen, lady, we have a war to fight. Back in the meeting room, Kethver waited nervously. He had no way of knowing that his simple request for help had just triggered the largest military response in human history. He had asked for a few ships and some basic weapons. He was about to get the entire human war machine. The Devourer swarm had spent 1,000 years learning to counter advanced alien warfare. They had never encountered humans. That was about to change. Outside the station, emergency lights began flashing as hundreds of ships started moving toward Earth. The greatest fleet humanity had ever assembled was about to launch. The aliens had asked for help. The humans were about to unleash hell. 3 days had passed since Kethver made his desperate plea. He stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching something that made his crystalline skin shift through colors of amazement and growing fear. The space around Earth looked like a metal storm. Ships moved in all directions, more vessels than Kethver had ever seen in one place. They were not the small fleet he had expected. These were warships, massive and deadly, built for one purpose only. Impressive, isn't it? A voice said behind him. Kethver turned to see Captain Morrison approaching with a cup of coffee in his hand. The human looked relaxed, as if the chaos outside was perfectly normal. This is not what we requested, Kethver said, his voice tight with worry. No, it's not. Morrison sipped his coffee. You asked for help? This is how humans help? Through the massive window, a ship longer than any building on Zephyr Prime moved past the station. Its hull was dark gray, covered with weapons that Kethver did not recognize. Smaller ships swarmed around it like angry insects. Retribution, Morrison said with pride. Admiral Harper's flagship, 2 kilometers long, crew of 8,000. She carries enough firepower to level a continent. Kethver's skin flashed pale blue. We only need a few ships with basic weapons. That's your problem right there, Morrison pointed out the window. You think small. Humans think big. We go to war, we go all the way. More ships appeared from behind Earth's moon. These were different, sleeker, and faster. They moved like sharks through water, quick and dangerous. Commander Santos's fast attack group, Morrison explained. His flagship is the UHS Vengeance. They specialize in hit-and-run tactics. Strike fast, strike hard, disappear before the enemy can respond. Kethver watched as dozens of smaller vessels joined the formation. Some looked like they were built to carry troops. Others had massive cargo bays. Still others bristled with communication equipment. How many ships are you sending? Kethver asked. Morrison checked his tablet. Current count is 437 combat vessels, another 200 support ships. Mobile construction platforms, resource extractors, hospital ships. Supply convoys. That's more ships than our entire alliance has. That's the point. Morrison's expression grew serious. Your people fight wars like gentlemen, clean honorable, by the rules. The Devourer swarm has learned to counter that. They expect you to play fair. Kethfer tilted his head, confused. And humans do not play fair? Hell no. We cheat, we lie, we hit below the belt. We use every dirty trick we can think of. Morrison grinned. War isn't a game, it's survival. And humans are very good at surviving. A new group of ships approached the station. These were enormous, with thick hulls and massive engines. They moved slowly, but looked like they could smash through anything. Colony ships, Morrison said, carrying 3 million volunteers. Engineers, miners, farmers, fighters. When we fight a war, we plan to stay. Kethfer's skin shifted to deep purple. You are bringing civilians to a war zone? These aren't civilians. Every human adult knows how to fight. We've been at war with something or someone for the last 50 years. Colonial rebellions, pirate raids, resource conflicts. This is what we do. The alien ambassador looked overwhelmed. We asked for simple help. You are mobilizing your entire species. Not our entire species. That would be overkill. Morrison finished his coffee. This is just the first wave. A woman in military uniform approached them. She was tall, with short brown hair and steady gray eyes. Her uniform marked her as a colonel. Ambassador Kethfer, this is Colonel Rodriguez, Morrison said. She'll be coordinating ground operations. Kethfer studied the human woman. She looked calm, but her eyes held something cold and calculating. Ground operations.
That's
The Devourer. Swarm has occupied several of your worlds, Rodriguez said. We're going to take them back. My Marines specialize in hostile environment combat. We've fought on airless moons and toxic atmospheres inside active volcanoes. Mechanical enemies. Don't scare us. The swarm adapts to any attack, Kethfer warned. They learn from every encounter. Rodriguez smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Good, let them learn. Every time they adapt to one tactic, we'll use a different one. We have 1,000 ways to kill an enemy. They can't adapt to all of them. A man in a white lab coat joined their group. He was younger than the others, with messy black hair and excited eyes. Dr. Clark Morrison introduced, our xenobiology expert. He's been studying the Devourer samples you provided, Dr. Clark held up a tablet showing complex diagrams. Fascinating technology. Self-repairing metal, adaptive programming, distributed intelligence. No wonder your energy weapons don't work. You have found a weakness? Kethfer asked, hopefully. Several. The swarm is designed to counter advanced technology, but it has blind spots. Clark's eyes gleamed with scientific curiosity. It doesn't understand chemical reactions, for instance, or biological weapons, or good old-fashioned nuclear fission. Kethfer's skin flashed bright yellow. Nuclear weapons. Those are banned by galactic law. Human law says they're just another tool. Rodriguez said, we don't ban weapons because they're too effective. That's the whole point of having them. A new ship appeared outside, different from the others. It was angular and aggressive, covered in sensors and communication arrays. Its hull was painted with symbols that hurt Kethfer's eyes to look at. Psychological. Warfare Division, Morrison explained. They specialize in breaking enemy morale. Fear, confusion, terror. Very effective against collective intelligences like your swarm. You fight with fear? Kethfer asked. Among other things. A new voice joined the conversation. General Lewis approached, a stern woman with silver hair and scars on her hands. We fight with whatever works. The Devourer swarm thinks it understands warfare. Time to give them an education. Kethfer looked around at the humans surrounding him. Each one was calm, confident, almost eager for battle. They spoke of war like other species spoke of trade negotiations. I begin to understand why you have so many conflicts, he said quietly. We don't look for fights, General Lewis said. But we're very good at finishing them. The massive fleet outside had organized itself into battle formations. Ships moved with practiced precision, falling into attack patterns that Kethfer's military advisors would have called impossible. When do you depart? Kethfer asked. Admiral Harper's voice came over the station's communication system. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Destination, Altair Prime. Time to intercept, 6 hours. Morrison checked his watch.
At about.
Now, space outside the window began to shimmer as the human fleet prepared to jump. Hundreds of ships, millions of soldiers. Weapons that the galaxy had forgotten or never imagined. Kethfer watched in growing alarm as the first ships vanished into hyperspace, and more, until the space around Earth was empty except for the orbital station. "What have we done?" he whispered. Morrison patted the alien on one crystalline shoulder. "You asked for help? Now, you're about to see what human help looks like." The last ship disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with it the hopes and fears of two species. The Devourer swarm had spent 1,000 years perfecting their methods. They had never faced humanity before. That was about to change in ways neither species could imagine. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Altair system. What they saw made even veteran soldiers pause in shock. Altair Prime hung in space like a wounded animal. Half the planet was gone, not destroyed, but eaten. Massive. Mechanical tentacles stretched from orbit down to the surface, slowly peeling away chunks of rock and metal. The pieces floated upward into the belly of something that defied description. "Mother of God," whispered Commander Santos from the bridge. "Of the UHS Vengeance? It's huge." The Devourer swarm had grown since the last Severian reports. What started as city-sized machines had become something the size of a small moon. Thousands of smaller units swarmed around the main body like metallic insects. One pulsed with stolen energy from the dying planet below. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of his cruiser, the UHS Defiance, studying the tactical display. "Admiral Harper, are you seeing this?" Harper's voice came through the communications system from the massive Retribution. "I see it, Jake. Dr. Clark, what's your analysis?" Dr. Clark's excited voice filled the channel. "It's incredible. The swarm has integrated Zephyrian technology into its structure. I can see their ship designs in the hull patterns. It's learning, adapting, growing stronger with each world it consumes." Near the planet, a small group of Zephyrian ships fought desperately against overwhelming odds. Their energy beams struck the swarm creatures and simply disappeared, absorbed into the metallic skin like water into sand. "This is Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Defense Force." A weak signal reached the human fleet. "We cannot hold much longer. Our weapons are useless. Please, if anyone receives this message, warn the Alliance. The swarm cannot be stopped." Admiral Harper opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships. This is Admiral Harper. Can see what we're facing? This thing has been eating civilizations for 1,000 years. It thinks it knows everything about warfare." Her voice grew hard. "Time to teach it about humans. All vessels, attack formation Alpha. Let's show them what primitive." Looks like the human fleet spread out like a steel net. The massive battleships moved to the center while the fast attack craft took the flanks. Support vessels hung back, ready to provide ammunition and repairs. Captain Morrison's cruiser led the first wave. As they approached the swarm, thousands of mechanical eyes turned toward them. The alien machines had never seen ships like these before. No energy shields, no plasma weapons, just metal and explosives and human determination. "Target the nearest cluster," Morrison ordered. "All weapons. Fire at will." The UHS Defiance opened up with everything it had. Railgun slugs moving at incredible speed slammed into the swarm creatures. The metal beasts tried to absorb the kinetic energy like they did with energy weapons. But solid matter traveling at 10% of light speed doesn't care about adaptive armor. The first Devourer unit exploded in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. "Direct hit," shouted Morrison's weapons officer. "Target destroyed." But the celebration was short-lived. The swarm reacted instantly. Hundreds of tentacles reached out toward the human ships. The mechanical creatures began to change, their hulls shifting and flowing like liquid metal. "They're adapting," Dr. Clark reported from his monitoring station. "Hull composition changing to counter kinetic impacts." Commander Santos grinned from his fighter cockpit. Let them adapt to this. His squadron released a cloud of chaff and electronic decoys, then dove toward the swarm firing rockets loaded with thermite and acid. The swarm creatures tried to track the human fighters, but the small ships moved in patterns that made no sense. They didn't fly in neat formations like Cepharian vessels. They weaved and dodged and split apart, each pilot fighting like his life depended on it, because it did. The thermite rockets burned through the swarm's adaptive armor like hot knives. Through butter. The acid ate holes in their hulls that couldn't be quickly repaired. For the first time in centuries, the Devourer swarm was taking real damage. But the swarm was learning. It always learned. The mechanical beasts began to change tactics. Instead of trying to absorb human weapons, they started dodging. Their movements became more erratic, less predictable. They began using debris from the planet below as shields. Smart Admiral Harper muttered. Dr. Clark, what's the swarm's weak point? I'm reading massive energy fluctuations from the central core, Clark replied. It's like a brain, coordinating all the smaller units. If we could damage it, ... On it called Colonel Rodriguez from her assault transport. Marines were going. In hard and fast, no fancy tactics, just human stubbornness. Load the nuclear charges. The Zephyrian commander Veltar watched in amazement as human Marines launched themselves directly at the swarm's core. They didn't use energy shields or advanced armor. They wore simple metal suits and carried weapons that looked ancient compared to Zephyrian technology. But they worked. The human Marines fought their way through the swarm's defenses, using tactics that no civilized species would consider. They used explosives to blow holes in the creature's hull, then crawled inside to plant more bombs. They turned captured swarm technology against itself, reprogramming it with simple computer viruses. This is impossible, Veltar said to his crew. How are they doing this? His science officer studied the human attack patterns. They don't fight like any species in our databases. There's no formation flying, no predictable strategies. Each unit acts independently, making decisions in real time. Chaos, Veltar said. Controlled chaos, his officer corrected. They're not random. They're adaptive. When one tactic fails, they try another immediately. Swarm can't predict their next move because they don't know it themselves until they make it. The swarm began to show signs of confusion. Its collective intelligence was designed to counter-organize military tactics. It could adapt to energy weapons, advanced shields, and coordinated attacks. But it couldn't adapt to pure human unpredictability. Captain. Morrison watched as his Marines disappeared into the swarm's core. Rodriguez, report. We're inside, came the colonel's voice, distorted by interference. This thing is huge. Miles of corridors and chambers. Out. But we found something interesting. What? It's not just a weapon. It's a test. Rodriguez's voice was grim. There are records here. Data from thousands of civilizations. The swarm doesn't just destroy. It evaluates. It's looking for something. Dr. Clark's excited voice cut through the channel. A test of what? Military capability? Tactical thinking? Adaptation under pressure? Rodriguez paused. It's not trying to wipe out all life. It's trying to find species worthy of survival. Admiral Harper felt a chill run down her spine. And if we fail the test, then it moves on to the next species. The process continues until it finds one that can beat it. The implications hit the human fleet like a physical blow. The Devourer swarm wasn't just an ancient weapon. It was a filter designed to cull the weak and identify the strong. Ma'am, Morrison's tactical officer called out. The swarm is withdrawing from the planet. All units pulling back to form a defensive sphere. On the planet below, the surviving Zephyrians watched in amazement as the mechanical tentacles released their grip. For the first time in months, the destruction stopped. But Admiral Harper knew this wasn't victory. It was evaluation. The swarm was studying them, learning their capabilities, preparing for the real test. All ships, maintain position, Harper ordered. This isn't over. It's just beginning. In the depths of space, the Devourer swarm pulsed with new information. The first time in 1,000 years, It had encountered something unexpected. The humans had passed the first test. Now came the hard part. 6 months had passed since the first battle at Altair Prime. The war had spread across the galaxy. But it was unlike any conflict in recorded history. Admiral Harper stood on the bridge of her command station, built from captured Devourer technology. Human engineers had torn apart the alien machines and rebuilt them into something better. The station bristled with weapons that combined human brutality with swarm efficiency. "Status report," she called to her officers. 80% of swarm forces have been destroyed or captured, reported her tactical officer. "Commander Santos's strike teams have eliminated 7 core nodes. Enemy is falling back to their final stronghold." Through the massive view screen, Harper could see the last battle of the war beginning. The Devourer swarm's central core hung in the gravity well of a neutron star, protected by defenses that had held for thousands of years, until now. Commander Santos led a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels toward the core. His flagship, the UHS Vengeance, now carried weapons designed by a dozen different species, all improved by human engineering. Behind him flew Zephyrian cruisers equipped with human railguns, and ships from 6 other alien races that had joined the fight. "Human Command, this is Santos. Beginning final approach. Core is heavily defended, but our sensors show weak points in the structure." Dr. Clark's voice came from the science station. "Rick, be careful. My analysis shows the core isn't just a command center, it's a library. The swarm has been collecting data on every species it's encountered for millennia, including us," Harper added grimly. "The final battle was different from all the others. The swarm no longer tried to adapt to human tactics. Instead, it fought. With desperate fury, throwing everything it had at the approaching fleet. Captain Morrison's cruiser took heavy damage as mechanical tentacles the size of skyscrapers wrapped around its hull. But instead of trying to break free, Morrison did something the swarm didn't expect. He detonated his ship's emergency charges, blowing holes in both vessels. "All crews abandon ship," Morrison ordered as his Marines poured through the gaps into the swarm creature. "Time to take this fight inside." Colonel Rodriguez led the ground assault into the core itself. Her Marines moved through corridors that shifted and changed, trying to trap them. But humans had fought in worse places. It battled in collapsing mines, burning buildings, and airless space. A shape-shifting alien structure was just another day at the office. "Found the control center," Rodriguez reported. "It's massive, size of a city. And there's something else here?" "What?" Harper asked. "Is it intelligence? Not artificial? Something alive?" Deep in the core, Rodriguez and her team found a chamber that took their breath away. Thousands of displays showed the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy. Each screen told the story of a species that had faced the swarm and failed. At the center of it all sat something that might once have been alive. It was ancient beyond measure, its body more machine than flesh. When it spoke, its voice echoed with the weight of eons. "So," it said, studying the humans with eyes like dying stars, "another species claims to be worthy. You fight well, but others have fought well too." In the end, they all fell to predictable patterns. Rodriguez stepped forward, her weapon ready. "We're not like the others." "No," the ancient being agreed. "You are not. Your tactics are crude, but effective. Your technology is primitive, but adaptable. It's most interesting of all. You fight not just for survival, but for others." General Lewis's voice came through Rodriguez's communicator. "Amy, we're reading massive energy buildup throughout the galaxy. The swarm is activating something." The ancient intelligence smiled, a terrible expression on its withered face. "The final test. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy is about to have their own technology turned against them. Their ships will attack their worlds. Their defenses will become weapons of destruction. Only the truly worthy will survive." Across the galaxy, alien fleets suddenly turned on their homeworlds. Zephyrian ships began bombarding Zephyr Prime. The energy weapons of a dozen species started tearing apart their own cities. The swarms. Final trap was sprung, but humanity's fleet remained unaffected. "Why aren't we being controlled?" Santos asked from his ship. Dr. Clark's voice was full of amazement. Because our technology is too primitive, the swarm's control systems can't interface with simple kinetic weapons and chemical explosives. Our ships don't have the advanced computer systems it needs to take control. The ancient being in the core chamber laughed. Ironic. The species with the most primitive technology becomes the only one capable of fighting back. Perhaps there is wisdom in your simplicity. Rodriguez looked around at the displays showing civilizations being destroyed by their own weapons. Stop this now. I cannot. The test must run its course. Either your species will save the galaxy, or the galaxy will burn, and we will wait for the next cycle. General Lewis made a decision that would be remembered for 1,000 years. Activated the massive nuclear device her engineers had been building for weeks. All ships, this is Lewis. I'm taking out the core. Everyone get clear. Kate! No. Harper's voice cracked over the radio. There has to be another way. There is no other way. This thing won't stop until every advanced species is dead or broken. Someone has to make the hard choice. The ancient intelligence studied Lewis through the communication channel. You would sacrifice yourself to save species you barely know. That's what humans do, Lewis said simply. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Fascinating. In all my millennia, no species has chosen sacrifice over survival at the final moment. They always try to save themselves first. Lewis began the activation sequence. Well, you've never met humans before. The nuclear device detonated with the force of a small star. The explosion tore through the core, destroying millennia of collected data and ending the ancient intelligence that had orchestrated the galactic tests. Across the galaxy, alien fleets stopped their attacks as the swarm's control signals died. Cities that had been burning began to recover. Species that had been on the brink of extinction found themselves suddenly free. 1 year later, Captain Morrison stood before the new Galactic Council on Earth's moon. Representatives from 47 species had gathered to sign the Human Protection Accords, HFY, now serving as the Zephyrian ambassador to Earth. Approached Morrison with something that might have been a smile on his crystalline features. We asked for help, HFY said. You gave us salvation. Morrison shrugged. We did what needed doing, at terrible cost. General Lewis, Captain Santos, thousands of others. That's the price of war. They knew it when they signed up. HFY's skin shifted to deep blue, the color of respect among his people. The galaxy will remember their sacrifice, and it will remember that when the test came, humanity chose to protect others rather than preserve themselves. Morrison looked out at the assembled alien delegates. Some looked grateful, others worried, all of them watching humanity with new eyes. What happens now? HFY asked. Morrison smiled. Now we get back to work. There's a lot of rebuilding to do, and something tells me this won't be the last time the galaxy needs protecting. Outside the council chambers, human construction crews worked alongside alien engineers to repair the damage caused by the war. Human warships patrolled the space lanes, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy had asked for help, and humanity had delivered. In the process, they had proven something that the ancient intelligence had spent millennia trying to discover, that the greatest strength wasn't in advanced technology or superior tactics, it was in the willingness to sacrifice everything for others. The age of human protection had begun.